Morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Monday, November 6th, 2023. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan, and today we're going to be talking about STEM or STEAM. World STEM or STEAM Day is fast approaching. It's Wednesday. It's November 8th every year, and we're going to talk about STEM in the Bahamas today. We're very pleased to have with us from BRON. They're going to tell us what BRON is all about. We've got the associate principal of their environmental. This is an interesting title. Anyway, but Mark Daniels is with us. We also have senior project manager Owen McKinney. We have environmental scientist Scott Johnson, and we have some students. He's still a student. We have junior architect with BRON, Alexis, Lightbourne, and junior CAD. Right, that's how you'll say it, right? Technician Tayla, Bain. Thank you all for being here this morning. Got a full studio, so that means we're going to have a lot to talk about. And a lot of people are going to have a lot of things to say. So we'll get into BRON in just a bit. But let's talk about STEM or STEAM for those who aren't familiar, even though we talk about it often. Let's get some definitions in there. Who wants to give the definition?
Who wants to jump in first?
Mark,
I'll jump in
you
first.
Going?
Sure,
right.
let's go first. So STEM refers to the subjects of science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So, traditionally you're in primary school, you're going to get that first science class, which is you're learning about the systems of the body, the way the planet works at a high level, the cycles of the environment. You get into high school and you start to get a little more definition between the sciences. You might do health sciences, you might do environmental, you, of course, are doing math. Some people are doing technical drawing, physics, chemistry. There's many different facets of what we call science. And as we get to now, we're calling it STEM, and we've broken it down further. So you're in college, and you're, in this room alone, we have a number of different focus groups of study. So we have people who are biologists, architects, engineers. In our company, BRON, there's project managers. So these are people who would have studied subjects related to STEM, but they're very important to our functioning. So for the purposes today, we're talking about STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
And occasionally there is STEAM.
STEAM.
And what is that extra?
Right?
So let me jump in with that. So STEAM, I'm very excited to talk about because it actually incorporates the art. So with me and my educational background, I would have done architecture and art. And I think those two coexist because with architecture, that's design. And you can't design if you're not creative, you know what I mean? So that artistic standpoint, that would have kind of catapulted me to the top, in some of my classes, because everybody's drawing in a box, but I could see a box, a circle, and a triangle, of course. So you could get more creative, and as you can see, these different forms of buildings coming up and stuff like that, it had to come from somewhere. The idea had to spark, and from that, you have your creative minds coming up together and doing these things to build spectacular stuff. So that's where the STEAM comes in, and then art. It goes along.
Yeah. Do you think we should just, from here on, just say STEAM?
Let's do that.
But the whole world, just focus on STEAM instead of just STEM alone.
Definitely.
Yeah? Everyone's good with that? Yeah. Okay. All right. So how are we doing in the Bahamas? I mean, we've been, depending on who you ask, this seems to be an area of challenge for us as students, for the country. Is that accurate to say? I mean, we got a lot of you all in here. Obviously, it's not as bad as some people think, but from what you're seeing, how are we doing?
Well,
Scott?
I guess that depends on the discipline that you're looking at. I mean, if we're looking at engineers and mathematicians and stuff like that, then you may have a decent amount of persons who are in these fields that deal with engineering and stuff like that. But when you talk about field biologists and those types of scientists, then things could get a little dicey because you have less persons who are out there going out into the field and collecting data and stuff like that for publications and that kind of thing.
Why is that? What do you think is going on? What's the reason?
I think one of the reasons is that a lot of persons don't really understand that this is a growing field, and then there's also a money component to it. People want to be in positions where they can get paid for going out and doing the work. But then a lot of persons also don't realize that there are a bunch of other places, a bunch of disciplines that you can jump into, that you can go out into the field and do certain types of work like consultancies. A lot of people think of biology, they think conservation. but the biology and the environmental field spans a wide spectrum of different areas. So,
Wow. Yeah. Owen, you want to add to it?
Yeah, I'll add to it. My background is also electrical engineering, so I moved into the project management field throughout my career. So the interesting part about that, just to piggyback off of you, is we have the resources in terms of engineers for the major utility companies. However, to push it further, to go beyond where we're at in the country, to be proactive about upgrading the utilities like BPL, we need more talents to come back. We have enough to fight the fires, but we need now to go beyond that, to make electricity or the water system, everything to be beyond where we're at now. So we do need the talents to come back. We have a good pool. It's enough to touch the market. But to go further, yeah, we do need to encourage our engineers, our designers, everybody to come back.
Encourage is one thing, but I mean, what'll really need to happen to get them to make the decision? Like, I can make a difference here.
The opportunities. So, like BRON, opportunities there for you to touch a lot of the different markets around the country. I think most people don't understand how vast the opportunities are in the Bahamas, from building a hotel or designing a hotel to marinas to high-end residential homes. Because that's been my career for a long period of time, just high-end homes. So the wonders that a lot of people miss out just being inside the inner cities, to go into Lyford Key, Albany, Old Fort Bay, and all the various high-end homes all around the country. It blows your mind. Yeah. I think I had the opportunity to take my parents and my brothers, and they were shocked at what we build on a day to day. So,
Do you think that's not publicized enough, that we don't hear from you guys enough, or what do you think's behind that?
That's why we're here today.
Right.
So I think you have students that they go away, they go off to different universities, and they get exposed. They get exposed to different cultures, different ways of looking at problems, innovative projects. And when they now enter the workforce, they want to continue that momentum. So like Owen mentioned, if you're not guaranteeing the opportunity for someone to work on world-class projects with cutting-edge innovation, where they're learning on a job in an environment where it's supportive and not essentially, I don't say competitive, because competition is good, but in an environment where you're encouraged to forge your own path, right, and be the best that you can be. And that's what anybody wants. It doesn't matter if you're in STEM, if you're in hospitality, wherever it is. You want to be working on cutting-edge projects, driving innovation, and you want to work with people that you like, right?
Definitely. Can I jump
Scott
in?
and Alexis were nodding. Everybody. So what's going on? Alexis, you go first.
Okay, so I'll give from a different insight on that. So let's start from university. So you said certain people go off to school. I didn't go off to school. I did school here right at the University of the Bahamas, and I'm actually from Grand Bahama. So I left that island to come here, and I stayed. So let's talk about that. So when I first came over here, I was very timid, very shy. I was terrified. You know what I mean? And
You've definitely changed.
Definitely changed. A lot of confidence for sure. And I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they look down on the school, but the school has so much opportunities. You just got to get it and grab it. I did the University of the Bahamas, but I studied at the University of Netherlands as well. I went to the University of Miami, and I also had an opportunity to go to Dubai, and we worked on the Expo 2020 project. So that's 3 things I just called off, and I did that right here. You know what I mean? So, and even after you graduate and you leave school and it's now time to enter the working field, that's very intimidating within itself. And I can actually say I'm happy at where I'm at right now. All of my colleagues and the people that are above me, like, they don't try to set me back. They actually catapult me and push me, you know what I mean? Even coming here today, my boss could have really done this, but she's like, Alexis, you do it. You know what I mean? So you just have to have that, anybody like interested in STEM or STEAM, to say, just be confident, ask a lot of questions, find your mentors, and you let them know what it is that you want to do so they can point you in a certain direction. And from there, like right now, I'm studying for my architectural exam. So hopefully, I don't have to say I'm a junior architect. I could just say, yes, I'm licensed now. You know what I mean?
There you go.
So all of that, just look at the company that you want to go to. I think BRON is an excellent place to do it because we're very diverse. And then that's another thing too. I don't only work at an architecture firm, I work at a development company. So I'm not only designing, I could always walk across the hall. Oh, why Mark, what are you doing today? That's environmental. Okay. Engineering, what's civil doing today? What are the drains looking like? What the sewer pipes looking like? You know what I mean? So you learn more. You're very well versed in it. And then, like, when you're having conversations, it's relatable. I'm not only just drawing. I understand how these beams go here and stuff like how the building is being held up. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important.
Scott, you were going to say?
I think one of the issues that we also have in this country is that there are people who are already in established positions and they're not willing to bend to allow somebody else who has those fresh ideas and stuff like that to come through. It's like you have to toe a line. And that line, if you don't toe this line, if you decide to say, hey, I just came from school, I'm fresh and I'm ready to go, I have these great ideas, and this person's like, remember you in the Bahamas, and this is how things work right now. So you just toed this line for a few years, and then all of a sudden, all of that ambition disappears.
Oh boy!
And then what I like about the company that we currently work at BRON is that you have the ability to really express yourself. You have a chance to go and speak on things, and you have a chance to put these things into practice, and therefore that helps to grow the company. Nobody feels as though they're being held down. Everybody feels as though I can express myself. And when you are allowed to stretch your mind and stuff like that, there's no telling how far that you can go. I know for me as a biologist, when I went to college, I was like, I want to be a wildlife biologist. I want to study animals because I love animals and stuff like that. And some of those persons that I was around, they were saying, well, where you going to go do that? Because there ain't nothing here to do. You got to do them kind of things, yeah. And so for a while, I was actually discouraged. So I said, well, okay, I want to work in the Bahamas, but if there ain't no place for me to do, let me study to be a doctor. You know, one of those fields that everybody seems to be interested in, being a medical doctor. But then I realized, hey, being in a hospital inside enclosed place and stuff like that really isn't me. So I don't know how I can do that.
I can interrupt him, right? I've known Scott from kindergarten, right? In kindergarten, Scott was the only person that could name every dinosaur, every single one. And as time went on, he was always catching lizards and snakes and showing everybody in the classroom.
It'd be the snakes.
So exactly. So the fact that my brother is a wildlife biologist, one, shows his innate passion he was born with, but two, he has a lot of drive. And against all the naysayers, and we could have a whole show here on Scott, but I just want to say that innate passion that he had, he cultivated over time through various means, and we're just so happy to have him with us in studio today.
And was your family encouraging? I mean, because they weren't the ones telling you what you're going to do with that, I hope.
No, it wasn't my mom who was telling me that. My mom, she's from the island. She's from Little Farmers Key. And so she was an outdoors person. They would jump on the boat. They would go to the Keys, look at iguanas, look at catch birds and stuff like that. So I guess that passion for animals, I guess I'm going to say a lot that came from her. Her outdoor nature.
Yeah.
But then you come here, and you're in the city, and you're like, okay, biologist, where am I going to work? And you're like, there's no real place out there to work. But fortunately, at the time, I then heard about a project called the Kirtland's Warbler Project. And that gave me the opportunity to really say, I can go out in the field. Now I can do research. And I just want to say a special shout out to persons like Eric Carey, who helped to push you have to push the boundary to help people help young students be able to participate in internationally important conservation programs at the Bahamas National Trust.
Wow.
That helped to move students like myself who were interested in outdoors to go out and participate in these things. And with that, I got a lot of the training that I needed. I had the passion, needed the guidance. I got the guidance. Excellent. And so now it is me teaching other persons how to go out in the field now and collect things.
Wonderful stuff. All right, so earlier you mentioned mathematics, and but people are like, what? This is, who majors in math and who does well in math? We know what the average supposedly is. But let's talk about that. Tayla, you're doing that. What led to that? What inspired you? What's wrong with you? No, but why math? Why math? Get real close to that mic there.
Okay, look at me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so at UB, they only have ASC engineering, so that's science engineering. They don't really specialize in it. And so when I entered UB, I was doing civil engineering technology. And that's not really an engineering degree. So it was a chance that I would have to do 8 more years after I graduated from UB. And so I was just like,
8 more years?
To actually get the degree, the engineering degree, because I only would have had a technology degree.
Wow.
And so my advisor advised me to take the mathematics along with the engineering. And it's tough. I just stuck with it because I'm like, okay, now it's just a personal goal. Because I wasn't that great at math in high school, so it's just like, okay, my teachers, you do this, like you do this. So I'm like, okay, I'm prove them wrong.
Yeah,
I'm just
wow.
get this degree, and that's just my plan right now.
What year are you in now?
So I'm on my last course of my engineering,
Okay.
but I have a few more classes of my math. So I'm like a junior in math,
All
but a
right.
senior in engineering.
We're rooting for you. You know you can do it. You can do it. All right. So it's we have two women here. The myth out there is that STEM and women don't go along.
That's not true.
Of course, it's not true. But what do you say to folks out there, even girls who are doubting themselves in school? They see that the boys are doing well. I don't know if that's true anymore, but it used to be
Because we're rising up. You know?
Yeah. So what's happening there? What's the real truth when it comes to STEM with women?
Let me tell you something. I'm a very girly girl. I don't know. You might can't see that now, but I love to prompt up. Don't mind that. Let me tell you something. I think it's just perception. Once you have a passion and it's something that you love, nothing should hinder you from it. Let me tell you something. I think it's actually an advantage because, like, you learn so much skills. You know what I mean? Like, as females, you know, we are pampered and stuff like that. They usually protect us. But being in fields like this, it's like, yeah, I could get rough and rugged. Like, I'm usually on, like, sites and stuff like that. And they look at me like, what you doing here? And I'm like, I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? Once I have the knowledge and once I have the tools, like, there's no stopping us. Like, we're intelligent. Like, what's the difference between sitting in an office and doing something and then going out in the field and doing it? Once you have the proper tools and you have the things to carry you out, there's no change in that.
Yeah. Taylor, what about you in math? I mean, how many women are in your classes and stuff?
It's actually pretty small. In my engineering classes, mostly 3 people, and I'm the only girl. So it's like 2 other gentlemen.
Wow.
Math classes, I would say it's 2, me and another girl, and then the rest is males. Probably 5 people. So we're the minority, but we're pretty strong. I think we carry the classes sometimes. Nowadays, I don't know if it was for y'all, but you know, we're really toting it on. And I would just encourage them, don't listen to nobody. If you like it, go after it. Many people say I look like a doctor. I'm like, no, mom.
But it also depends on what your, I guess, what your tastes are as well. There are a lot of persons out there, like in the environmental field in the Bahamas, that's women led. That's a women-dominated field. You go to the Bahamas National Trust, it's led by women. You go to all these a lot of the environmental consultancies, women-led. So it really depends on what it is that you really want to focus on. Naturally, I would assume that in the engineering field, that's more of a male-dominated area. But when you go into other fields of environment and other aspects of STEM, then you would see that it does kind of balance itself out. Mind you, there are more and more persons who would move into different areas and stuff like that. Yes, but I think that it's also a matter of what I, as a young lady or whatever, what I would choose. I can do it, but I prefer to do something else or whatever. So
Can I also just chime in right there? So in my department, so this is the Department of Architecture, of course. My principal lead is a female. The lady under her is also a female. Then you have me, and I think that's very encouraging too, because I always ask them, like, how do you do it? You have your family, then you're married as well, so you have to cater to your husband, you have to take care of the kids, you have to prep dinner, then you also have to be here on time, you have to lead us, like, how are you doing all this? Because me, I don't have any kids, or I'm not married yet, and I'm tired. You know what I mean? So how are you doing this? Like, let me know. You know what I mean? But it's stuff like that that's really encouraging, and it just forces you to push yourself. I think sometimes we get stagnant and comfortable, and that's one of the issues that we have today, like in our generation. So having different examples to like prove the status quo wrong. You know what I mean? Let's work. Let's be great together.
And now I'm going to shout out all of the wonderful ladies in the environmental discipline. It's only Scott and I. You know. We got a powerful team of women that work along with us. So just to reiterate what he says, our company, we're 60 plus employees. I don't want to misquote the breakdown, but I'm going to go ahead and say we probably have more women than men employees at BRON.
Wow.
Yeah.
Owen, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add on to the conversation. Like I said, I started off as an electrical engineer, worked my way into, I'd had like 4 or 5 years as an intern at one of the local companies. And my way into construction management was through a female project manager or project director at the time. So the opportunity I got was from a leading figure in the industry who was a female and still is currently one of the leading project managers or senior project managers in the country.
Excellent.
Who has 20 plus years of experience. So I got my shot from ladies in the field, and I've met a lot of ladies coming up, even in the construction side of it. Today, and like you say, they're still girly girls. So they're not that go down. They know how to dress up in the office, change, and put on the boots.
Still wear your heels in the work.
Yeah, exactly.
And since we're shouting out women in the science and tech field, Salima Campbell Hauber.
Oh, yeah.
She was instrumental in me getting from being in the hospital thinking I was going to be a doctor to out on the farm working in hydroponics.
Wow.
I had done botany as my undergrad. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I worked as an EMT for a bit. But I got this itch. I'm like, I don't want to be indoors. And she provided me my first internship opportunity at Lucayan Tropical, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow. Excellent.
So this gentleman right here, yeah, he is one of the best botanists in the country.
Definitely.
And so anytime him. So anytime that there's any type of botanical work that needs to get done and stuff like that, he's one of the top persons again.
Yeah, excellent.
So he does the plant stuff. I do the animal stuff. So we mesh well.
All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to find out more about BRON. Clearly, this is a very exciting company. We want to learn more about it and find out more about what you all are doing specifically. We'll get into that after the break as we get ready to celebrate World STEAM Day. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us. Radio 96.9, Dwight Strong with you. We've got a full house this morning as we are gearing up for World STEM or STEAM Day this Wednesday, November 8th. We're talking about STEM in the Bahamas. We've got Mark Daniels, Owen McKinney, Scott Johnson, Alexis Lightbourne, and Tayla Bain. Okay, so I want to hear about everybody, but first tell us about BRON. What exactly is BRON? How long has it been around? You say you have 60 people working there?
Yeah. We're a small team.
That's huge.
That's large.
So
60 plus.
Yeah,
60 plus.
Exactly.
Wow.
So BRON is a multinational interdisciplinary development consulting group. We have teams here in the Bahamas, Canada, Turks and Caicos, Florida, St. Kitts. Wow. Our main business, we're in the business of projects. And so as development consultants, when you come in, whether you are a hotel, a marina, a bed and breakfast, a dock by your home in Exuma, a stadium, a bridge, anything you can dream of, we make paradise possible. So how do we do this? So we have a number of disciplines that work together to provide this project delivery group. We have the engineering teams that are comprised by civil engineering, structural engineering, coastal engineering.
Wow.
There's the architecture group. There's the environmental group. We have project management. And then, of course, we have all of our supporting services behind us. We also have geomatics, and so that's using CAD. You heard someone as a junior CAD technician, using geographical information systems, flying drones, doing surveys, topos. We do it all. Whether we got to be in the bush, on the water, in the plane, or on the boat, we will make paradise possible.
Impressive. Yeah. So the 60 plus, that's in the Bahamas only, or
We're
is
spread
it
out.
Spread.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Wow. And how long did you say? What year? When is it for?
You get me in trouble with this. So what originally started as Caribbean Coastal Services a number of years ago. I'm going to say 15 years ago. Watch me get in trouble. There's a graphic on the wall for that, right? Which came together as a number of companies that worked together. First, it was CCS, Caribbean Coastal Services, started in the attic of our one of our managing principals, Scott Blackhair. Very small group, just doing engineering, and over time grew into the services we have today, coming under the umbrella of BRON. So I would say about 5 years now, BRON has been formalized as with all the teams coming together.
Excellent. Wow. All right. So again, tell us about what each one of you do, and get a little bit deeper into it, Mark.
All right. So environmental. Our day-to-day is managing environmental compliance with the government. There are environmental laws in place that govern the way that developments receive their approval to begin their construction. Typically, this is the certificate of environmental clearance. So before you go to build, you have to have your CEC. To get to that process, there are a number of steps, usually involving environmental assessments, liaising with the government, advising the client on how to manage and mitigate environmental risks, there's public consultation that happens, and management plans that get drawn up. So that's our typical day-to-day work. As the associate principal, I head the discipline and keep the day-to-day of it running. I don't get to go in the bush as much as a botanist, but Scott gets to enjoy being in the field, so I'll let him chime in on his role and some of the things he does on a day-to-day for environment.
All right. Scott Johnson.
I go in the bush. As an environmental scientist, one of my the major task is that before any development happens, what we do is we do assessments of the environment. We look at the ecosystem. We determine what species are protected, what's the species composition within the environment, and stuff like that. We do like protected tree surveys. So there's a large number of trees in the Bahamas that are protected, and what we do is we go there, we assess that habitat for those protected trees. A lot of animals that are protected, a lot of animals that are native. A lot of animals that are native, and we just try to understand what the diversity is in this habitat, and then we would write things like mitigations for in the event of this area being developed. We would make sure that we let everybody know that these are the species that you can find in this area. We talk a little bit about them, and we also would do mitigation for to help minimize whatever damage would happen to the environment during the development phase. And so we help to guide the developer so that they don't do. So we try to make sure they stick to what it is that we write for them and have them do their due diligence.
Okay. Are there any animals that we need to be concerned about?
There are lots of animals in the Bahamas that we need to be aware of. So we have over 350 species of birds that have been recorded in the Bahamas. All birds are protected by the Wild Birds Act. We have iguanas. We have various species of snakes. We have various species of lizards. We have over like 5,000 to 6,000 species of arthropods that you can find in the Bahamas. We have a lot of endemics. Endemics are just animals, organisms that are found in only one geographic area, and so those are the Bahamians, the true Bahamians. Those are the ones that I really like to target. So whenever we go into an area, I'm keeping an eye out for what endemics are in the area. So you look at things like Bahama parrots, you look at things like great lizard cuckoos, Bahama warblers, Bahama orioles, all those kind of things. We keep an eye out for all of that stuff. And so, yeah, once we're in the field, everything now is my playground, and I'm going to write down as much as I can.
Yeah. Are people receptive when you say that this could cause problems for this species, or
absolutely
do this to this tree?
Absolutely. I think a lot of persons have a misconception that a developer just comes in there and they just want to bulldoze everything and destroy it. That's not true at all. A lot of the developers that do come into the country, what they want to do is they want to comply with government rules and stuff like that. So when we go into the field and I say, oh, there's a special species of bird or special species of animal here, and they require this type of habitat, so in many cases, they would try to avoid those areas to try and maintain that habitat just so that those species can live. Just so those species can survive and survive. In some cases, they even change their scope a bit so that they don't have as much of an effect on the environment.
That sounds like the international developers. What about the Bahamians? Do they care?
Well, we see them all, right? And in this world, like any consultant, you have some persons who are more knowledgeable about the process than others. And so whether you're a local developer or international, there are some people who just don't know, right? There are some people that are just going to pay the tractor to go clear down the line. They can just get the fill dumped there, and they can start building. They don't even go for a building permit. So there are people who just don't know the formal process. Now there are those who know, and they would probably like to circumvent it because maybe historically it's happened. There's certain places you can get away with some things because nobody's watching. But that's changed now that you have environmental laws that have teeth. And so you will get in trouble if people find out.
Yeah.
And so you find those who want to follow the rules, and you also find those that come to us once they've gotten in trouble.
Right.
Oh boy!
Exactly.
Oh boy. Wow! All right, but it's changing. People are being more cautious and aware. Okay, wonderful. Owen, tell us more about what you do.
Oh, so a day-to-day for me is pretty much a lot of fun. So I have the awesome job of working with all the teams, all the interdisciplines that we have at the company for the big projects that includes all the team members and all the disciplines. So my job is just to continue to keep everything in the triple constraints, which is the budget, the scope, and schedule. So I make sure everything's in tight, that we don't run over budget over time with the projects, communicate with the clients on the day-to-day, keep them updated and with the project and where we're at with deliverables for them. So it's a lot of back and forth. So
Excellent. And Alexis?
Okay, so architecture. Love talking about this. So we often say that we are the problem solvers, we are the communicators, we are the presenters, we are the makers, we create. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what it is. So in my department, I dip and dabble in everything. And I just love this because I get to, I don't want to say I dictate, but I get to say like what it is that I want to do. You know what I mean? So I can see all of these things going on and I say, let me share with this, let me share with that. So we have like architect of record services, and like Mark was just pointing out, like you go to the Ministry of Works, you get building permits and stuff like that. I'm in the field, so we do like site visits. So that means like during the construction phase, we go out and we make sure that the windows or all the structures are in the right place. They're doing the right things, they're using the correct materials and stuff like that. They're not endangering the environment. And then we work hand in hand. Fran isn't here, but me and Fran always bucking on site. Oh, you okay, Alexis? Yes, I'm fine. And you good? Yes, we're great. So other than that, we also deal with like, it's the five design phases. So with that, you have your conceptual and your schematics, and you have your design development, and after that, you go into your construction documents. You might do some bidding. And you have the construction administration, and then after that, you have the overall construction. So I know you're looking at me like, what are all these things you're calling off now? You know what I mean? In layperson terms. So you come to us, we have like a consultation meeting. You tell us, okay, this is what I want. We put all the ideas down on paper. After that, we move into like spatial planning. So we're going to say this room goes next to this room. We're going to have 6 or 7 rooms. And after that, you now do your floor plans. And from your floor plans, you generate some rendering. So you have a 2D and a 3D image of what it looks like. And all of this is the design process. And then after that is done, you have your construction document. So it gets more technical. We need our structural team now. So the structural team is coming in. They say, okay, this beam has to go here, and this is how it's going to stand. Okay, you want a circle in front of the building? Okay, this is what we're going to do to make this circle happen. You know what I mean? And then after that, you submit it to the ministry, you get your building permit, and then we build the structure, and then after that, we can have a photo op. This is what we did.
Wow. All right, and Taylor, what does a CAD technician do really?
Okay, so I'm a CAD technician for the civil discipline. So after you get your building built and the structural team act on it, they tell you where the beams go. And you get all your permits and everything correct or whatever. So probably shouldn't say whatever.
Girl, you good. Keep going.
Okay, so the civil team will get it. After you get your survey layout, we get to see what roads are in the picture, important places. We take all that into aspect. We'll add your pipelines, your draining, your pavement, your sewer systems. Yeah, that's
a big stuff.
We do. And I would just, after I get the markups of where these would go, I would input it in CAD. That would be the 2D form, and then that would be more like an initial layout. So you will go in and you would agree with it with the client. And then after that process takes place, you like it, we'll come back in, we'll do the 3D layout, and
okay, excellent. Mark, you want to say something?
Yeah, so if someone is an experienced developer, they realize the different parts, the different gears that are turning at the same time to make a development project happen. There's a number of fires burning at once, so to speak. So you do have the architecture team that's working. You will have 3 different types of engineering teams working at the same time: civil, structural, coastal. In the Bahamas, it's an archipelago. Essentially, every project is almost a coastal project because of the proximity and the impacts of that. For your environmental phase, again, that's a whole other gauntlet to run.
There's a bunch to
So the unique thing about BRON is that we have all of these services under one roof. We are the largest development consulting firm in the English-speaking Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
And we're unique in that we have these disciplines all under one roof, whereas exactly as Alexis alluded to, it's a very collaborative environment. And so instead of you as a developer, you want to build your hotel on the island where you got your family line, you can have your marina and your little golf course, a little bed and breakfast. you would have had to go and find these individual services separately and then have somebody coordinate all of them together. We do all that under one roof.
Excellent.
At BRON.
Wow. All right. Caller, we'll come to you in just a second. I just want to ask you all, are we doing enough here in terms of future-proofing design, taking into consideration all the things that the environment's going to require in 10, 20, 30 years? How are we looking with that? Are clients aware of this? Do they request that, or do you have to steer them in that direction?
So from the environmental discipline, it's a requirement as a part of your environmental compliance documents that you take into consideration climate change and those impacts. So whether it is you're describing mitigation strategies, or let's say it's the coastal engineering team that's designing and doing flood modeling, they would model various scenarios that will happen with mid-ocean conditions or sea conditions, storm surge analyses, flood mapping, and since Hurricane Dorian, and I will let the engineers or maybe the architecture team speak to that, there has been a series of consultations within agencies, among development groups, among the scientists to determine how we're going to adapt to the changing environment. So I think the building code has probably undergone some changes recently. And so it's happening in the various disciplines. But for environmental, we're very aware that, one, the sea level is rising, the climate is changing, habitats are changing, there's impacts to the marine environment, you have threats to coral, you have threats to mangrove seagrasses, aside from an actual development that will physically have impacts. Surrounding that are the impacts related to climate change that are happening all over this planet.
Yeah.
I guess anyone else can chime in.
Yeah.
Are you going to go for me?
You go first.
All right, so with that, yes, so just piggybacking off of what he said, so just from a design aspect, we know we have hurricanes, we know it floods, especially in Nassau, and then I'm not even going to talk about Grandmama, because that was like a tragedy, that was scary, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're safe first. That's what building design is about. When we design a structure, we want to make sure that it could withstand any natural disaster if possible. And we also want to make sure that people feel comfort in their own home, because that's what a building, and that's why we're staying there. We want to be comfortable. So in terms of that, there are certain things that you could do. So they tell you build on stilts. So if you build on stilts, underneath the stilts, that could be a parking garage, that could be a backyard space where you can have some party and events and stuff like that. Or whatever, that could be storage space, but at the end of the day, when the hurricane comes and it's flooding, we just go upstairs, we're safe, we're in the ground, whatever, but the water level is rising, and that was 10 feet of water, right? Yeah. That's scary, that's above a car, so you could imagine. So just stuff like that, just make sure be proactive, and when you're designing these certain things, that's another thing. People oftentimes comes and they want these modern designs. They go on Pinterest and they bring the stuff they built in England and all over the States. And we're just okay, the Bahamas, this is a different terrain now. Yeah. We got to build differently. So let's lean more to a Bahamian vernacular standpoint, and then we could modernize it. But no, we're not gonna build a building full of glass. That's not safe. You know what I mean? Right. So just stuff like that.
So you notice people requesting, I want to incorporate renewables, solar, I want to have electric charging ports for vehicles. Are you seeing that, or are we still not thinking about it?
Yeah, some of our projects have solar farms on the keys and Exuma keys and different off-island projects.
Excellent.
So we do have a lot of clients requesting, hey, let's go we want to go green. We want to go clean energy. Carbon. Everybody starts to think about the carbon emissions nowadays. So it is important for us to advise clients on what's the best option, and then also make sure that the house can last for 50 years. Right. 100 years. So we get involved throughout the whole project, not just the design, but even after the general contractor gets involved, just to ensure that it meets our like Alexis said earlier, it meets the specifications on the drawings. So.
Let's see if we can take this call really quickly. Caller, are you still there?
Yeah.
Hi.
I have a question for you. Good day, to the panel. I have a question now. The habitat. I've noticed Fox Hill had a lot of bush one time. Hobby Horse Hall. Also, when it comes to the marine area and also the ponds, right? And all the bush and stuff. People building on the what you would call the mangrove, okay? The mangroves. So my question to you, what are y'all doing about that? Where do the creatures and the animal goes when you allow people to build on situations as such?
Okay, all right. Let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So, to respond to that, initially there's a structure in place to manage that process. So, at a high level, if in an ideal sense, there are land use plans that dictate what can happen where in an area. For an island, for the Bahamas, land use plans, or at least an idea of zoning for what should happen in particular areas, and that's managed by the Department of Physical Planning. From the environmental standpoint, permitting wise, so if you have an area that's crown land, it's a forest reserve, it's a national park, those things are protected and you need permission to do any clearing on them. So if somebody's clearing in a national park, if they're clearing in a wetland, if they're clearing in a forest reserve without proper permission, documentation, and all of that, then that's illegal, right? And that should be reported.
Okay.
When you are permitted to do these things, there is a process by which you engage with either the Department of Forestry, and that's related to mangroves and impacts to wetlands, also to removal of protected species. So if you're following the process, you would do your analysis prior to determine what's your true impact going to be, not just qualitatively, but quantitatively. So how many of these protected species are going to come out based off of your initial design. So once those assessments are done, you determine this is what this direct impact could be. You now have an opportunity with your client to discuss how can we scale this back a bit. Do you really need to have this portion of your development this close to a wetland? And usually there's some back and forth with the help of the architecture team and environmental where you can adjust your site plan once you realize what's on the ground. A lot of people, they go and they develop a property without knowing what's there. And they find out what's there once the tractor blade hits the bush and you now fall into a blue hole, right? Wow. So doing the proper assessments, determining what that impact could be, and then finding the opportunity to scale back that impact. Now, with any development, there will always be impact. So even if you had an open lot that had grass on it, you're going to scrape up that grass to put in those foundations. It's going to change the way the water flows around that site. It's going to change the temperature in that immediate area. So there's always going to be impacts. Through the process, once it's properly documented, you now can say, how will I mitigate against these impacts? So you ask, what are we going to do to the animals and the creatures that are there? So one of the things that Scott does before you go to bulldoze an area is something we call a pre-clearance survey. So you know what he does? He walks along that tractor line to move bird nests, to move right before it bulldozes. If there's any slow species that's in the way, they'll get relocated. It happens in the water as well. If before a dredging project would happen, well, Scott isn't our water boy, but he's a land guy. But if there are corals that are there, through working with the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection, you can relocate those corals. You can mitigate against impact. So just to go down to it, without proper planning, you will have unnecessary impacts. If you're circumventing the process, then you'll definitely have negative impacts. And we do not endorse that. It's illegal. Snap a photo of it, send it to DEP, and they'll deal with it.
All right, we're running out of time. This texter, though, says we need to have a focused approach by our educational department heads to redesign our curriculum to cater to STEM lead careers. We need to get out of the mindset that only doctors and lawyers matter.
We concur with that.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, out of time. Thank you all so much. Happy World STEM Day. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Mark Daniels, Owen McKinney, Scott Johnson, Alexis Lightbourne, and Tayla Bain. Thank you so much. Good luck to you, Tayla.
Thanks for having us.
And you too, with your exam coming up, right?
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much. Again, happy World STEM Day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.